Hey everyone, how are you doing tonight? Welcome, welcome, welcome! You know, we all dream about it, right? Hitting it big, waking up one morning and bam, you're a millionaire. You're swimming in a pool of cash like Scrooge McDuck. But usually we think of things like inventing the next iPhone or becoming a movie star. But what if I told you that some people have gotten ridiculously, unbelievably rich in ways you would never ever expect? I'm talking about ideas so strange, so out there, you'd think they were a joke. But they weren't. The money was very, very real. Tonight, we are diving deep into some of the craziest get-rich-quick stories of all time. We're talking about people who turned rocks, air, and even their dinner into a massive fortune. It's gonna get weird, it's gonna get wild, and it might just make you look at that boring old rock in your garden a little differently. My name is Albert, and welcome to Unknown Facts. We're about to explore the bizarre, the brilliant, and the downright baffling ways people have struck gold. So get comfortable, grab some popcorn, or maybe a pet rock, you never know, and get ready for a wild ride. If you love hearing about the unbelievable side of life, do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're at it, give this video a big thumbs up. It really helps us out, and you won't want to miss what we've got coming up next. Let's get into it. All right, first up, let's talk about the classic dream, winning the lottery. Imagine that feeling. One little ticket, a few lucky numbers, and suddenly you have more money than you can possibly imagine. For a guy named Jack Whittaker, this wasn't a dream. In 2002, he won the Powerball jackpot, a mind-blowing $314.9 million. At the time, it was the largest single-ticket jackpot in U.S. history. He took the lump sum, which came out to about $113 million after taxes. What do you do with that kind of money? Jack was incredibly generous at first. He was on TV talking to reporters, a big smile on his face. He gave millions to charity. He bought houses and cars for the woman who sold him the ticket. He was handing out cash to people left and right. He became a local hero, a symbol of hope. But here's where the story takes a turn. You see, that kind of sudden wealth, it puts a giant target on your back. And not just from people asking for handouts. Jack's life started to unravel in the most dramatic ways. His car was broken into multiple times, with thieves stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash that he just carried around in briefcases. I mean, who does that? It's like something out of a movie. The story gets even more tragic from there. Personal tragedies struck his family, one after another, which many linked to the destructive influence of the sudden wealth. His granddaughter, who he had given a large allowance, fell into addiction and passed away. Within just a few years, Jack Whittaker's fortune was reportedly gone, stolen, given away, lost to legal battles, and spent on a lifestyle that was spiraling out of control. It's a cautionary tale that's almost hard to believe. You think winning the lottery is the end of the story, the happily ever after. But for Jack, it was the beginning of a nightmare. It proves that having a ton of cash doesn't guarantee happiness, and sometimes it can lead you down a very dark path. Okay, from a story of losing a fortune to a story of making one in the most ridiculous way possible. Picture this. It's the 1970s. You're an advertising executive named Gary Dahl. You're out at a bar with your friends, and everyone's complaining about their pets. They're messy, they're expensive, you have to walk them, feed them, take them to the vet. It's a lot of work. And in that moment of collective whining, Gary has a stroke of genius. He jokes that he has the perfect pet. It doesn't need to be fed, walked, or bathed. It will never get sick or die. His pet? A rock. And everyone laughed. It was a funny joke, right? But Gary couldn't get it out of his head. This wasn't just about selling a rock in a bag. Oh no, Gary Dahl was a marketing guy. He knew the magic was in the presentation. He sourced smooth gray stones from a beach in Mexico for about a penny each. But the rock itself was the least important part. The real genius was the packaging and the manual. Each pet rock came in a little cardboard box that looked like a pet carrier, complete with air holes so your new little buddy could breathe. But the masterpiece was the care and training manual. The pet rock launched in 1975, just in time for the Christmas season. Gary thought he might sell a few. He ended up selling over 1.5 million of them in just a few months. Think about that. 1.5 million people paid $4, which is like $20 today, for a rock in a box. The fad was explosive. Gary Dahl became an instant millionaire. He went from being an ad guy with a funny idea to a national sensation, appearing on talk shows and in magazines. Now we're fast-forwarding from the 1970s to the digital age. We've talked about tangible things, lottery tickets, rocks, but what if you could get rich selling something that doesn't even exist in the real world? I'm talking about virtual real estate. Yes, people buying and selling land that is nothing more than pixels on a screen. It sounds completely insane, but for some people, it's been a digital gold rush. And one of the pioneers of this was a guy named John Neverty Jacobs. John was a gamer, an actor, and an entrepreneur. In the early 2000s, he got deep into a game called Entropia Universe. It's a massive multiplayer online game with a real cash economy. That's the key part. The in-game currency, called PEDs, has a fixed exchange rate with the US dollar. So, money you make in the game can be cashed out for real money. John saw a massive opportunity here. So what did he do? He did something no one had ever done before. In 2005, he took out a mortgage on his real-world home. He remortgaged his house for $100,000. That's a huge risk, and he invested all of it into the game. He bought a virtual asteroid, a giant digital space rock that he named Club Neverty. It wasn't just an empty asteroid, though. He developed it. He built a nightclub, a stadium, and shopping malls on it. He created a destination within the game. People thought he was nuts. His family, his friends, everyone. You're spending real-world life savings on a make-believe space station in a video game? But John had a vision, and it worked. It worked better than anyone could have imagined. Players flocked to Club Neverty. They spent real money to buy apartments, to shop in the malls, to hang out at the nightclub. John was earning a steady income from all the economic activity on his asteroid. Within a year, he had made his initial $100,000 investment back, and it just kept growing from there. His virtual asteroid was eventually valued at over $635,000. John Neverty Jacobs became a legend in the gaming world. He was featured in the Guinness World Records for owning the most valuable virtual item. He proved that the lines between the real world and the virtual world were blurring. Okay, this next one might be my favorite because it involves something we all do every day, eating. But what if I told you that you could make millions of dollars just by filming yourself eating dinner? It sounds like a dream job, right? Well, welcome to the world of mukbang. This phenomenon started in South Korea around 2010. The word mukbang combines the Korean words for eating and broadcast. And that's exactly what it is, an eating broadcast. And some creators have turned it into an empire. Imagine a woman sitting in front of a camera with a mountain of food in front of her. We're not talking about a big dinner. We're talking about 10 pizzas, or 50 plates of sushi, or a giant cauldron of spicy noodles. She turns on the camera, says hello to her thousands of live viewers, and then she just starts eating. And people watch. Millions of people. Why? What's the appeal? Well, it's a few things. For one, there's the ASMR component, the sounds of slurping, chewing, crunching. For some people, it's incredibly satisfying and relaxing. For others, it's about companionship. Many people live and eat alone, and watching a mukbang creator feels like sharing a meal with a friend. The creator talks to the audience, reads comments, and creates a sense of community. And the money? It's staggering. A top mukbang star can earn millions of dollars a year. The income comes from a few places. First, there are the donations or balloons that viewers send during live streams. Then there's YouTube ad revenue, which on a video with 10 million views can be substantial. And finally, there are brand deals and sponsorships. The lifestyle, however, is intense. Imagine having to consume 10,000 calories in a single sitting, several times a week. It takes a huge toll on your body. Many creators have to work out for hours every day just to manage the health implications. We all have that friend who says, "I have a great idea for an app," right? It's become a modern cliche, but most of those ideas never go anywhere. Well, this next story is about a teenager who not only had an idea, but turned it into a multi-million-dollar payday before he could even legally vote in some elections. This is the story of Nick D'Aloisio and his app, Sumly. Nick was just a regular 15-year-old kid from London, teaching himself how to code in his bedroom after school. He was fascinated by how we consume information. He noticed that reading long news articles on a tiny smartphone screen was a real pain. It was clunky, it was slow, and you had to scroll forever. He thought, what if there was a way to automatically summarize any news article into just a few key sentences? A perfect bite-sized summary for people on the go. So he got to work. Using artificial intelligence and natural language processing algorithms, yeah, stuff I definitely wasn't doing at 15, he started building an app that could do just that. His first version was called Trimit. He released it, and it got some buzz, even attracting a small investment from a Hong Kong billionaire. This wasn't some kid playing around anymore. This was a serious project with real money behind it. With that investment, Nick refined the app. He redesigned the interface, improved the summarization algorithm, and rebranded it as Sumly. The app was beautiful. It was clean, intuitive, and it worked like magic. When Sumly was released on the Apple App Store, it exploded. It was downloaded by hundreds of thousands of people in a very short time, and was even featured by Apple as one of the best apps of the year. The media went crazy for the story, the teenage genius who was revolutionizing how we read the news. Nick was doing interviews with major news outlets, all while still having to do his homework. And then, the giants of Silicon Valley took notice. An app this smart and this popular doesn't stay independent for long. In 2013, just a year and a half after he started, Yahoo came knocking. They saw the potential in his technology and wanted it for their own mobile news products. They made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Yahoo acquired Sumly for a reported $30 million. Let me say that again. A 17-year-old kid sold his app for $30 million. Nick D'Aloisio became one of the youngest self-made millionaires in the world. Okay, we've had rocks, virtual land, eating, and apps. But this last one might be the most unbelievable of all. This is the story of a man who got rich by selling nothing. Literally, he sold air. Canned, bottled air. And no, this is not a joke from a movie. This is a real business that made a real fortune. Meet Moses Lamb, a Canadian entrepreneur who co-founded a company called Vitality Air. The idea started, as many great ideas do, as a joke. Moses and his co-founder, Troy Paquette, were living in Edmonton, Canada. They were chatting with friends online and decided to try and sell a Ziploc bag of fresh Rocky Mountain air on eBay. They listed it for 99 cents. It was a total gag. But then, something weird happened. The bag sold. Then they listed a second bag, and it sold for $168. They realized, wait a minute, maybe this isn't a joke after all. They saw a real market opportunity, specifically in countries with high levels of air pollution, like China and India. For people living in smog-filled cities, the idea of breathing clean, fresh, pristine mountain air wasn't a joke. It was a luxury. It was something they craved. So, Moses and Troy got serious. They started a real company, Vitality Air, and developed a real product. They weren't selling Ziploc bags anymore. They began traveling to the beautiful Banff National Park in the Canadian Rockies. They would spend hours capturing air using a special clean compression technique. They weren't just waving a can around. They had a process to ensure the air was pure. They bottled it in sleek aluminum spray cans, complete with a mouthpiece, looking like a high-end cosmetic product. Each can held about 8 liters of air, good for about 161-second inhalations. When they first launched their first shipment to China, it sold out in days. The demand was insane. People were buying it as a novelty gift, but many were buying it for actual use, to get a momentary escape from the pollution. It became a status symbol. The business boomed. They were shipping thousands of cans all over the world, to Beijing, to Delhi, to Vietnam, to Korea. Each can sold for around $20 to $30. It was a high-margin business, to say the least. Their biggest cost was the can itself and the shipping. The raw material, the air, was completely free. It's the ultimate business model. Moses Lamb had turned a gag into a global enterprise. And there you have it. 6 people, 6 absolutely unbelievable stories of striking it rich. From selling pet rocks and bottled air to becoming a lottery winner or a virtual landlord. It just goes to show you that the path to wealth isn't always a straight line. Sometimes it's a weird, winding road filled with the most unexpected and bizarre ideas. These stories prove that with a little bit of creativity, a lot of guts, and maybe a touch of absurdity, anything is possible. What did you think? Which story blew your mind the most? For me, it has to be the pet rock. The sheer genius of that marketing is just timeless. But maybe you're now considering a career in professional eating or designing the next viral app. Let me know your favorite story in the comments below. I love reading what you guys think, and it really helps us figure out what kind of unknown facts you want to see next. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you had fun and learned something new, or if you're just feeling inspired to go out and sell some air, please hit that like button and definitely subscribe to Unknown Facts if you haven't already. We have so many more incredible and strange stories to share with you, and you won't want to miss a single one. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.